Hi friends, I'm Staci, and today I have some friends joining with me as we talk about some life things on Homeschool for the Soul today. We are in a season when some of us are planning maybe grade school promotions, or seniors in high school or college seniors are getting ready to celebrate graduation. And others of us are celebrating some really big things happening in life and are having to change what those plans look like. So Mel and Andrew are here with us today to talk about what it looks like in the middle of a pandemic and you had plans to get married. So thank you guys for being here today. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and to talk about how this has affected you personally, how it has been a journey of your faith together and separate, and what that all means. These are big things, and I know people are going to appreciate the wisdom and the honesty that you have to share today. So thank you so much for all of that. As we all know, we are in the midst of a time when things that we were regularly used to have come to a screeching halt. Either of you, can you share in terms of like work or family life, it could be where you live, how that has kind of affected you? Like, what are the things that have maybe stopped, or what have been big changes for you in the midst of this?
I feel like for me, it's kind of changed a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I am a manager at Anthropologie at Fashion Island, and for retail, we had to completely come to a halt. So for me, I don't work right now, but through God's grace, I am still getting paid, which is just absolutely incredible. And we're trying to do work on the side and Zoom calls and all that sort of thing, to better ourselves as leaders and everything, so that we come back and can service people even better than we tried to already. So so work looks completely different for me, especially doing things on the computer versus in person and not in the store. But God has been good and allowed me to still get paid, which is just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And then for us,
yeah, I work remotely already. I work down with a finance firm down in San Diego. So for me, this isn't too different, other than I'm not able to go out and go walk to Starbucks every day. But
he gets a whole lot of me.
Yeah, I get a whole lot of her now as the trade-off, which is great.
And then in the middle of everything, we are trying to plan a wedding, which is going to be on May 31st.
Yeah.
So definitely within the window of not allowing socializing. So we did have to look into postponement. And
Okay, hold on, I don't want to cut you off, but tell me a little bit about like how far into the planning. You have to say sorry, Heather. I cut you off. I want people to hear what that looked like. Like, when did you guys set your date?
Yeah. So we set our date a few weeks after we got engaged. Was October.
Yeah.
So mid-October we planned our wedding to be on May 31st, and we pretty much knew where we wanted it to be. It's at Ole Hansen's Beach Club in San Clemente, and we picked that because we had one of our first dates right across the street from there.
It's a special spot for the two of us. That goes right back to the beginning of our relationship, and wanted to bring it to the next level right there as well. We had our final details meeting at the venue, and while we were there with our day of planner and our venue coordinator, while we were there, they literally put up a sign that said, "This building is now closed." Yeah. And that was kind of the
oh my goodness, that makes everything come to a screeching like reality halt right there. Holy moly.
Totally. Yeah. And that finals detail meeting was a very anxious day. I mean, leading up to it, that weekend, I know for me, anthropology closed entirely. So that was so concerning. And there were so many questions that we both had. And we just, I mean, the only thing we could do is pray and just pray that everything was going to be okay, and that we would get answers. We didn't want to bombard them because I'm sure they were getting so bombarded. We're like, okay, let's wait until the meeting. We're having it on Monday and we'll figure it out. But once we were at the meeting, literally finalizing our tables and everything, the building shut down. And so that was traumatic a little bit, and to say the least.
And for us, like leading up into that time, it was prayers of patience, because we wanted to call, and we were kind of like, do we call a week in advance? And we just realized there's nothing we can do between that and the final meeting. So we said, we'll be patient and we'll wait. And they actually told us within the first few minutes, here's what our contingency plans look like. And they're able to put some of our anxieties at ease, and we'll go more into that later on, I'm sure. But there was a lot of
questions.
A lot of questions that went into that too.
Well, and Mel, you are and have been an event planner, specifically when it comes to weddings. So a lot of us as women, as girls, we think about and dream about what our wedding could be like, but you have a whole different perspective. So this is something you guys have been planning and praying about together. But then for you, oh my goodness, like this is a huge deal.
I mean, I have such a huge passion, not only for the bridal industry, but the event industry in general. And so our wedding, I have to remember to say that.
Good job.
Our wedding, there's such a pinnacle to it for me specifically, just because I am one of those girls who has dreamt about it my whole life. And there's such a build up to it. And it's something I've just dreamt about for 25 years, and so there is a complete different perspective, because really all the events and weddings that I have done, we have been very nice, and there hasn't been something as big as
catastrophic
this.
Like this. Yeah.
And so I've never had to dealt with that. So I also understood, I think for me, I wanted to come into those meetings with the vendors with grace, because with everyone, a wedding is such an emotional time that people come in so hot and heavy and ready to like punch you in the face if something doesn't go the right way.
I love that. I love that you know that. That's so good.
And so I was like trying to be sensitive of that, but at the same time, I understood the gravity of it coming from a bride's perspective, or someone for graduation, or just these big life events that there's such a big buildup to them that something in the slightest has changed, and it just throws off your perspective so much.
Walk me through what changed from the day and week when you were at the place doing final details, waiting to see what happened next. What were you praying about and thinking would happen to then where you got to next?
So when we were at our finals detail meeting, I mean, so much has changed since then. That was like
6 weeks ago, maybe?
Yeah, 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So at that first meeting, we all figured it would blow over within a month, and
Sure.
Now we know that it hasn't. But back at the beginning of the month, we were like, okay, well, it might look different, it's not going to be, we went from the venue being very hopeful that it was going to still happen.
Yeah.
And us being hopeful that it was going to be happening, and all of our friends and family and loved ones, to having to shift our perspective in accepting that, okay, what we've always pictured is going to look way different now.
Yeah.
And the more time that's gone on, I mean, by God's grace and his alone, everything was very,
it was day by day.
Yeah, everything was day by day. But as the days went on, the stress just kept building. And by a week and a half later, we just wanted to make a decision.
Yeah.
We're like, should we postpone it or not? And I did heavy research from the event planners and wedding planners that I know that like are surround me in the industry, and friends, family, loved ones, and prayer, of course. What should we do? You know, should we be hopeful of the wedding that we have been planning, or are we going to shift our perspective? And while we were going through that process, one of the biggest lessons that God has taught me is, instead of us praying, please God, please let our wedding happen, let everything be back to normal. And that's what our friends and family were obviously praying for as well. But it clicked in my mind that instead of praying for this wedding to happen, I wanted to pray for God's will. And because it was out of my control, you know, everything is out of our control at the end of the day. And at that point, I just had a complete change of heart. And I had such a peace knowing that God was going to have happen whatever happened, and we're still going to be okay, you know, and just because it's different than what we originally thought doesn't make it any less special. So we go from having our wedding with 130 people on May 31st to now being able to postpone it to later in the year in November. So that is so exciting. Yeah.
But you're still going to get married.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're going to have we call it kind of like almost a 1-2 kind of wedding. So we're getting married on May 31. So that'll just be us and our immediate family down at a park down in South Orange County. And then we'll be having the reception and kind of other wedding or wedding number 2, whatever, in November. So we'll be able to have, you know, as of now, all of our family and friends and everyone there. It is one of the last few days that was available in 2020 that worked with our schedule. So,
and so amazing. We got to postpone the wedding free of charge from our venue, which was huge. That was a huge stress relief. And our vendors were all available. Our family and friends and bridal parties were all available on this one date. So it was a total God thing.
And the bridal party, there's 8 people for each of us. So it's not like this is 2 or 3 people.
Oh my goodness.
So
we had a lot of people.
16 people all said it's a good date.
So that was just God in itself. But so now the joy about the wedding really got tainted for a bit. And I felt that once we had that shift in our mind to release everything to God, that he had everything just fall into place and gave us such a sense of peace. And not only that, but the joy for the wedding came back. You know, like, we're so excited to get married on the 31st. And you know what? We may not have a marriage license, you know, but we're getting married. Jim is marrying us. We're in front of our family that is nearest and dearest to our heart. But most importantly is we're getting married in front of the Lord, you know, and at the end of the day, that's what we value the most. And so that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
California might not recognize it, but
God does.
That's right. I love that. So that kind of helps me as we wrap up our time together, which thank you again so much for being with us. What are some things, like you've shared, you have so much hope and joy about your wedding and then the party you get to have later. But what are some other things that you are hopeful for in this season now that you have already conquered this challenge? Like, oh my goodness, what an incredible way to start a family together, because this is the beginning of your family, is, you know, you guys deciding to be married and then see what happens next. But oh my goodness, what a legacy you are leaving for your children and their children one day, to say, like, the world was saying no to all of this, and we said no, we love each other, and we believed in our future and believed in each other, and that God would make a way. But what are some other things that you are hopeful for in this season?
Well, I'm super excited personally to wear my wedding dress twice. That is something that's like, oh my God, thank you. That was so nice of you.
I love it. That's so good.
I am so thrilled about that.
I was not expecting the answer, and that's so good, Mel. It's such a Mel answer.
I know. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, so exciting. So my perspective on that has changed. Like, wow, what a great opportunity.
Yeah.
But something that, like, we're so excited is just to be together. You know, we've gotten, I mean, being in quarantine, Andrew has his place where he lives, his apartment that I'll be joining once we're married. So I'm going home and sleeping separately every night. But we're getting a little like sneak peek of what marriage is like, being quarantined together. And you know what? If anything comes our way, I feel like we've
faced a lot of like just interesting, not challenges, that's too strong of a word, but we've had a lot of situations that you don't get to go through a lot of other times before, you know, you're able to be married and live together. So we've had a chance to go through a lot of different scenarios we would not have otherwise.
Yeah, so I feel like this has been just a blessing in disguise, really. And we're so excited to start our family together, a family of 2, and hopefully a dog friend sometime soon.
Very fun. Very fun.
That's my hope. But it's also something I think that we keep talking about, how our kids one day are probably not even going to believe this, you know? Right? So we're saving little mementos, like little male coronavirus,
like the little postcards that came out.
You know? Like, we're saving, like, this is how we're starting off our family, and nothing can stop us. It's from starting our family. So I think that at the end of the day is just what we're remaining focused on.
Yeah, and we're able to have devotions together more than we would otherwise, because normally she'd be working, and after work she'd come over, have dinner, and head home. And now we're able to spend time together in the day. And when you have that time, you have 12 hours to fill, you know.
Lots of Netflix.
Lots of Netflix, but also lots of devotions.
Yeah.
And then getting just to be with each other and just to relax and not have to feel like we only get to see each other for an hour or 2 a day, and then we run back to our places. Now we're able to, get to spend life together and go to the beach and go walking around, and not the beach, they're closed. But
when they're open.
Yeah, when they're open.
Exactly.
Yeah, we go walking neighborhoods near the beach. That is social distancing. We're keeping all that true.
Yeah.
Well, I am so excited for you guys. I'm so honored to say that you have made this decision, and that I know you and already adore you. But gosh, I am so proud of you. I love the example that you are setting for young people that don't even know you, for young people that do know you and see, oh my gosh, life can be hard and it can be messy, but your faith and love can absolutely knock all of that to the ground, and you can still move forward in extraordinary ways. So you guys, thank you again so much for today. Thank you for sharing. I know some of that isn't easy, but you are doing excellent things, and thank you for giving us all a sense of hope for things to come.
Yes.
Okay. Bye now. Bye, Andrew. Thank you, guys.
Bye, buddy. Bye.